We're good. We're live. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Community Roundtable here in the Gumdolph Kingdom. My name is Wild Paparazzi, joined always by our gracious host, Gumdolph the Gray. What is up, Vinny?
Not much, man. How are you today?
Oh, not bad. Not bad. Finally back with another edition of this week's Community Roundtable. For those of you who are just joining us for the first time or never watched one of these segments before, it is a podcast-esque style show. Where we talk all topics, fighting game, community-related topics. So before I get into what we're talking about tonight, just want to take a quick moment to thank our sponsors, Junk Food Custom Arcades. If you haven't checked them out, be sure to do so. They have all sorts of fighting game accessories, from arcade sticks to hitboxes to snack boxes. So really cool products. Be sure to check out Junk Food Custom Arcades. Syracuse Sucker Punch, always got to shout out the godfather of the FGC, Kenyon, DJ Silence. So putting on our monthlies here for quite some time. So Syracuse Sucker Punch, and then also Microgame Play and Trade. For without those guys, we would not have a home to play said monthlies. So that's the intro. There it is. We thanked our sponsors here. So tonight, Vinny, we're doing a very different topic that we're talking about tonight.
This was a request by the gentleman we have on the show tonight.
So tonight we are talking fighting game player mentality. So what it takes to be a good fighting game player in the community. And tonight we have a very special guest on, very strong, very high-level player here in the Syracuse community here, Layden. What's going on, sir?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good.
So you have been around in the community for, well, shoot, I've been around 5-6 years, and you were here before me. So how long have you been around?
So my first introduction to the community, you can actually see on YouTube, believe it or not. Showdown at the Sheridan. I believe that's circa, it's about 2010, I think. That was my first toe dip into this community. Spooky came up and streamed it for us. It is like crazy low quality. It's so funny to rewatch that, but
Yeah.
just it's my name, it's got numbers after it, because when you first start you don't really know what you're doing with your tag, so it's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna be Layden 412, like that sounds good. So yeah, I've been pretty much in this community, involved with it for 12 or more years, fighting games for at least 15 at this point.
Yep.
And yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. I know when I first started coming around, you were definitely one of the guys that were very friendly and very inviting, and willing to kind of share some of your knowledge to help me kind of be a better player. So we're excited to have you on the show tonight. Should be a good time. So I guess we'll kind of kick it off to you and kind of have you kind of go through some topics that you wanted to talk about.
Right, so yeah, I'm definitely going to preface it first with, I really want people to understand that, like, this is not your standard, like, do better combos discussion. This is what it means to get yourself in the mindset to get better, to maybe grind more efficiently, and to be able to be open and talk about your gameplay. And I'll just kind of, go through it here. I am always open to questions, especially if you ever catch me at a monthly or anything like that. Don't be shy to talk to me. I will always chat about whatever you want to chat about. I usually have pretty good ideas. If I don't play the game, it's a little bit harder. If someone came up to me about Killer Instinct stuff, I'd probably refer them to Rick. I don't really, I don't touch that game, but we can talk about, like, these things are going to be general ideas that work in every fighting game, and it's important to break them down and to discuss with people, like, okay, one of the first things I'll discuss is I'm pretty strong in the belief that, like, when you watch a fighting game event, you watch top players play, you can enjoy it. Obviously, we have our Evo party every year. That stuff's a blast. And one of the things I really like to do is go around and ask people about, what do you think about this decision? Or, what is going through this guy's head? How's he going to come back from this? Like, what do you guys think is going to happen here? So when you watch a top player, anybody that you think is a really good player, you should really watch them and figure out why something they're doing is working, as opposed to we can play a game and be like, hey man, I know a Shoryuken's really good, right? Like I know that Ryu's gonna anti-air someone with his Shoryuken, and then it's like, okay, but why does this player use it the way that he does? That is something that a lot of players come in and they don't really it's hard to break down that mindset. It could be back and forth between the players. They're having a conversation like, hey, you can't jump there because I'm going to do this. Well, if you're going to do that, are you reacting to it or are you just throwing it out there?
Yeah.
These are really important things to establish early on in the game plan. I think it is always very important that when you are watching things for that reason. Now, you don't have to watch everything, and I'm not going to go and watch a Mortal Kombat top 8 and be like, oh, I wonder why he did that. No, I'm just going to watch it because it's on, I need some entertainment, I'll just throw it on, right?
Yep.
But if you are actively trying to learn from that, I do think it's important to just have these small conversations with yourself or with other players who are in the area. Maybe you're watching it with some of your friends. Just ask them very simple questions like, why would he do that?
Yeah. I think a lot of like the general idea when you're watching these like high level players is, sometimes they do really cool or technical like combos or setups and things like that. But if you really kind of boil it down to the split second decision making, I mean, they're just making micro decisions and hoping for the best, right? And a lot of times it's not a very complicated like decision. It's, oh, this guy jumped at me, I'm going to anti-air, and you'll get a lot of mileage out of just anti-airing your opponent and things like that. So, I mean, it's a good point, kind of asking yourself why are they doing what they're doing, and then trying to implement it in your own gameplay.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people get lost in like the struggle of, oh, this move got beat, like I'm not going to use it anymore, it's trash. Like all of your tools are available to you for a reason. There are, don't get me wrong, like bad moves in games, obviously. Like there's things that are like, yeah, you really shouldn't maybe use this. And then it's up to you as the player to decide like, okay, are we thinking one every 5 games? Do I use this once every 10, 20, 30? It really comes down to what you want to do with it. Just a good personal example, because I do want to bring in my own personal experiences here. I just had a set last week in Can Opener where I jumped about 20 times in the set, got DP'd about 19 of them, and the 20th one won me the final round.
Yeah.
Like that is where this mentality stuff goes, where it's like, at the time that you're playing the game, you're also forcing your own will on someone else of like, I don't care that you're going to do this. I know eventually it's going to slip up.
Yeah.
Because as much as people want to say, the top players of the world are robotic, they're not. They can miss combos. They can mess up an anti-air. You name it, they've probably done it.
Yeah. I think something maybe important for the folks to hear, and maybe you can kind of share your experiences with it, is, I mean, obviously fighting games are kind of intimidating to start and pick up, and especially playing a new fighting game if you're not aware of, the different mechanics and whatnot. But what would be your tips for a newer player or someone who's starting to play a new fighting game when they're first starting out here?
Oh, you're good, because this is one of my first things I wanted to bring up.
Beautiful. Look at that. I didn't even read your notes, and I'm leading you in the direction. Perfect.
I think the first thing I want to say off the bat is listen. I've had this discussion with a lot of players. You're gonna sit down. You're gonna look at that character select screen, right? And you're gonna go, I'm gonna pick this character for X, Y, and Z reason, right? Like a lot of people will be like, I think this character looks cool. I think this character's cute. I think this character is fun. Like I play them and I have fun. One of the things, at least from a higher level mindset, is everybody has their own strengths, right? Like some players will develop different strengths as they develop their game plan. It is not strange, and this goes for new players, mid-level, high-level players, it is not strange that your strengths do not include your character. Okay. I think a lot of people really will sell themselves on, well, I'm a zoner, so I have to pick this character. I'm here to tell you that, like, my most successful character right now is a grappler. Anybody who knows me knows I very rarely play grapplers. It is very few and far between. I have, I think, a history of picking one other grappler in, like, an actual fighting game.
What character was that?
Makoto in Third Strike.
Oh, okay.
I have a similar. It's like with charge characters. I don't play charge characters, and it was a little easier. But in Strive, everyone remembers I started with Faust, and that shit didn't work. And then I picked Mei, and Mei made me want to play charge characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is that mindset of, like, people will be like, I really want to make this character work, and they'll lock themselves in, and they won't really try the cast. You know what they'll do is, like, I see this all the time. They'll go online, they'll lose to a character, and they'll be like, that character's bullshit, man. Like, I don't want to deal with that, you know? I don't like dealing with this. It's really annoying. Like, I can't. And then you ask them, like, well, have you tried to play that character to understand what they're doing? That, you know, is it difficult on their end? Is there a way to exploit what they're doing? And then I see people come back and they'll be playing that character and they'll be like, I took them to training mode, you know, I did their combos and I really like this character. And it's like, yeah, this is the hill every fighting game player climbs. Like, you will not know for a long time what your preferred archetype is, and it might not even work in the game you're trying to play. Like, there are so many different types of systems out there that you'll jive with or you'll have fun with that your character of choice may not take advantage of, or your player style may not work with it, and that's okay. Like, that's perfectly fine, and never think that, like, you're dumb or anything like that because you didn't figure it out. Like, you can't sometimes. You have no idea who you're actually going to end up liking.
Yep. Yeah, I'm a big proponent of just trying everybody. You know, in Strive, you know, I thought I was going to be a Leo main because I played Leo and Exard and loved that character. Thought he was a sick character. Played him in Strive, had a great time with him, and then one night I'm just messing around with different characters and I find Kai, and I hated Kai in Exard. Hated him. I thought he was a terrible looking character. Didn't like his gameplay whatsoever. And then for whatever reason, it just kind of clicked in Strive. I really liked playing him. I thought his combos were pretty awesome, and now I'm a Kai main. Just from messing around with different characters.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. I think I've told the story a couple times, but I was dead set on I was either going to play Ghostblade or one of the characters that was coming down the line when DNF Duel first came out, and then I think I just in the beta was playing Grappler, and I was like, it's kind of funny how this guy works. Like, this is cute. I'm really enjoying, like, what I'm doing, but he's not going to be my character in the long run. And then, Christ, 5 months down the line now, and I'm, you know, placing top 8s in can opener every week with him because I just enjoy that character.
I think it's so funny because, like, when I think of, like, you as a fighting game player, I don't think you playing a grappler, and the one character you enjoy the most is a grappler named Grappler.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
No, it's so crazy. You know, I'm not the Zangief player. I'm not the, you know, I'm not any of that, man. I never play grapplers, but this guy, something about him was just so fun.
Yeah.
All
great points.
Yeah. Any other questions before I continue on here?
Well, I think you know, you kind of talk about, you know, playing a lot of the cast and finding who your main's going to be by trial and error, experiment, and whatnot. If you had to give a new player, like, some tips aside from, like, trying the cast or whatnot, in terms of, and you're probably already going to be talking about this, but in terms of picking up the new game and hopping online, what would be some of the tips you would have for somebody who's venturing into the online world?
Right.
Or maybe even the tournament scene, you know, going to their local for the first time.
Yeah, this man, you're good. You're good, Rick. You got the next one right down. So yeah, one of the topics I wanted to talk about is this is a great question. I get it all the times, which is fighting game player A is they're grinding, they're having a blast, they're going online, they're playing player matches, they're playing ranked. All of a sudden, you don't see him at the local, right? And you're like, huh, I know he's been playing this. Like, we've played online a few times. So I wonder what's going on. Then you talk to him, and they're like, I don't feel confident in what I'm doing. Like, I don't really know if I'm good for it. I'm not gonna parrot what everyone else says. Don't think I will. One of the questions I get is, when do I enter tournaments? Like, when am I ready? And the answer is very simple. It's when you're ready. I was not huge on online tournaments for a long time until rollback really became a thing. I was not big on just like traveling really far out there to compete and things like that early on. It takes a lot. I think that your personal journey is so different. You're not gonna, like, so many people, man, they hype themselves up immediately, which is good mentally, but then they really start worrying about, like, well, I need results, I gotta see. And it's like, no, this is a jog. It's never gonna be a sprint. And don't ever think that fighting games are like, I can't tell you, and this stuff drives me crazy because I know it's disingenuous. I hear top players or higher level players will say, like, yeah, I just picked it up, and I'm top 8 this week, and I just picked it up last week. And a lot of the time, it's like, that's not true. They're labbing, they're doing stuff on the side. Like, I get into these things all the time where I think I've told someone straight up, like, you're being disingenuous. Like, that's not how fighting games work. You're not just going to pick it up and be good tomorrow. And I know because I have experience with so many fighting games, so many different styles, 3D, 2D, 2.5D, you name it, I've played it. And it takes a certain grind, it takes a certain time to know things in those systems and be good at them. But then a lot of people will say, well, how come certain players can just, pick up a game week 1 of release and go top 8 something? And it's like, that's all those years of experience coming back to them to serve them in that game. And if they catch on to a mechanic that's very important early, they will place well, no doubt.
Yeah, I think the fundamentals, the transferable skills between games is so huge, and that just comes with experience, right? And I know, like, I'll play, like, if I start playing Tekken for a little bit, and I'll pick up, like, oh yeah, whiff punishing just seems to get a lot easier in a game like KI after I play Tekken for a little bit, you know what I mean? Because you're so focused on doing things like that, and that just comes with the experience.
Yep, and just to touch on it while we're talking on it, I do want people to understand, like, tournament nerves are real. I have them. I've been in the scene forever. I know players who have been in longer than me that still get them. You're going to get nervous. It's okay. Learn ways to calm yourself down. Learn ways to relax. We do it as a community. You can kind of tell because, like, we all know each other. We're all friendly with each other. It's not, the end-all, be-all, but, if you have to fight the guy who beat you in bracket last time and you're a little bit nervous, that's perfectly okay. It also does not get better until you keep facing it. You have to keep dealing with it, and that's really the only way to handle it. You really have to face that fear and look it dead in the eye and be ready for it. I think that one of the things that gets overlooked a lot with how top players approach nerves and stuff like that is, you guys have heard the term, and tell me if you haven't, you've heard the term tournament combo before, right?
Yes.
You heard that, Vinny?
Yep.
Yeah, so tournament combo, for those of us who might be newer at fighting games, is basically you enter an event and you basically tell yourself, like, I'm not going to go for these really hard linked combos. I'm not going to go for the maximum amount of optimization in every hit I get. I'm going to do these safe combos because they won't drop. And, a really good example of this is in, like, Guilty Gear Xrd, and Strive actually has this too to some degree, where characters fall at different rates depending on their gravities, and your combo routes will change. And so everyone always has that one combo that's like, no matter what happens, I'm going back to this one. It is very important to know those. There is no... I don't care what your commentator says or what anyone says about the match. Like, if you landed the hit and you got the follow-up, you got the combo. Like, that's what matters, right?
Yep.
You don't have to optimize every time. Like there are so many games I've played and so many matches in top 16s, top 8s where it's like, I don't think I can do this right now. That's okay. I'm just gonna go for a little less damage. Perfectly fine.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And just so people know, like a prime example of that, and someone who you can look at very easily is someone like Punk. Punk and Justin Wong, same stuff. Like their optimization in combos is there, but you won't see it across every game because they know that like I can do this, I can win my neutral, and I can win. I don't have to worry about these optimal hits.
Yeah. No, I definitely think it's something, it's cool to be a lab monster and, have these cool optimized combos and things like that. But, if you're playing in tournaments or playing online, it really comes down to what you can hit. And if you can't land that combo 90 to 95% of the time, it ain't worth doing it. Go for the easy one.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, and then what we'll do is we'll come back full circle here and say, what does it mean to take a loss, right? Like, how hard is that loss in tournament? Now, you're going to lose. I lost. Everyone's lost. It's going to happen. Not everyone's going to be the champ every time. It is very important that anyone at any level, while you're taking your losses, you can go ahead and review and see places where you may go, oh, I shouldn't have done that because they showed that they could react to it or something like that. The thing is that while all this is going on, you are fostering your own play style. You are basically going through your own journey and getting your own play style honed. That's why, like, among many players, you will not see the same play style. Like, will characters be like bland and figured out sometimes? Sure, some stuff can be, but you'll never see two players play exactly the same. It'll never happen.
Yeah.
It is very important that while you're doing this, as long as you feel like what you're doing is fun, then you will develop that skill set and you'll hone it. It will get better.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen this goes to everyone, man. I've heard everyone say this, right? The random dude, he just kept DPing me. The patient guy who's zoning me from full screen. I can't do anything. Anytime I try to move in, it's just hitting me. What am I supposed to do? You got the dudes who just burn, run up gold burst dudes. You know what I mean? Like these people who are just like, you sit there and you're like, man, this is. And the thing is like their goal may be completely different than what you think it is. You might be thinking like they're just trying to frustrate me, where in their head they're like, this seems like the right option. I'm gonna play by feel.
Yeah.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah, I think a lot of people really do go down that hole of like, well, this guy's not playing right. Like he can't play like that. The reality is anyone can play any way they want to. One of the best souls in the world in Plus R, Kasoru, is the most random dude you've ever seen, and his shit works, right?
Yeah.
You really have to understand that, like, nobody's going to play like you think they're gonna play. No one's gonna play like the top player you watch. No one's gonna face the matchup that you're like. Say you go and you're like, man, I've been, I got my shit pushed in by a Nago the other day. I'm gonna go watch Hotashi versus whatever character I'm playing. Let's say Zato. So I'm gonna go watch Hotashi versus oh jeez, I feel bad. I'm forgetting his name right now.
Did Ogawa play?
No. Oh my God. The Latif. There we go. I got it. Latif. Yeah. So I'm gonna go watch that, right? And you'll be watching that, and then you'll bring that to your next set against the Nago, and he doesn't know. He has no idea that you're trying to play this certain way. So he's gonna do stuff that, like, you were like, wait, I saw when he blocked Beyblade and he did dash backward, I saw him do a 6P and it worked there, but it's not working here, right? And it's like, yeah, because no one's going to play a set way. You're not just going to sit down and the chess pieces are right in front of you and everyone's going to move a certain way. It's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So your goal as a player is that you want to at least show them, like, I understand your character. I know what's going on. Are you ready to go to level 2? Like, we're at level 1 when we sit down now. When are we going to start playing the matchup?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just to kind of like touch upon some of the things you said there. I mean, I think it's important to be accepting that you're gonna lose, right? And you're not going to be a top player right off the bat, but as long as you're having a good time with the game, and you've accepted that, hey, I'm not going to be the top player, but if I can do some cool stuff and maybe learn along the way, the improvement will come, right? Like I've said, like when you learn to lose, losing becomes learning, right? And I think another thing I wanted to ask you is when you're looking at your gameplay and like your sets and things like that, what are some of the things that you do to try and give yourself feedback or try and improve after a loss?
Right, yeah, that's one of my favorite things to talk about with players, because I think a lot of people will go back and they'll watch a VOD review or something like that, and they'll say, what am I supposed to be looking for here? Well, a lot of the times for me, it's I'm looking to how my opponent's reacting and how they're moving to certain situations that I can guarantee in the game. Like, in gear we have the Roman cancel mechanic, right? So you can do a blue Roman and you can kind of see like where someone's moving or what their decision is. Using plus moves to see like, are they gonna mash? Can I set up a counter hit here? Can I kind of get my head where their head is and what they want to do? I think that a lot of the time that comes back to understanding your opponent's character, their options, or just what your opponent likes to do. Like, what do they enjoy doing? Do they want to mash out of this situation? Do they want to do a smart DP? Do they want to super me? Like, there's a lot going on when I'm watching it, and my decisions are always based on like, what is my opponent's most likely defensive option? And then if they're not going to use that, what is their level 2? And then what is their, like, I've seen, in my gameplay personally, at this level, I can break it down multiple times over every knockdown and say, like, all right, what are you going to do here? What are you going to do here? What are you going to do here? And then all that knowledge gets added up in the set, and eventually you can get to a point where either the player is going to continue with you and you're going to keep climbing those levels with them, or they're going to stop and you're just going to bulldoze the set, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm watching VOD review, a lot of the time it's am I doing anything that gives my opponent a tell? And a tell is just like it sounds. It's just anything you're doing that tells them that, like, instead of a strike here, I'm going to go for throw. Instead of a super to reversal, I'm just going to backdash. Things like these are very important to pick up, and as you get better, you will pick up faster. Yeah. But I think a lot of the time, people also get lost in like, oh, there's so many options to pick from, but I just don't know which one they're going to pick.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think really watching back your replays is huge. In order to see the improvement, because you could have that decision making while the match is going on there, but if you really get your ass beat, you're not going to be able to think clearly there until you go back and rewatch the thing and say, oh, you know what? I shouldn't have DP'd there. Or I should have tried to grab there because 8 times in a row I got him.
Yeah, there's stuff people, and there are other players of the game that I play that will ask me to watch their footage and give them feedback about things, and I can immediately tell them just from my own review, like, oh, did you notice that every time you scored a knockdown, you would take 2 steps forward, or like you would micro dash forward, and that's your tell for what you're going to do? Like, you command grabbed every time you micro dashed. Mm-hmm. And there's things like that like you won't realize that someone's picking up on that for a whole set. But, I mean, if you're threatening the same situation over and over and over again, and you are comfortable staying at level 1, you can't be surprised when someone picks up on that and then decides, like, no, you're not going to win the set because you're not ready to kick it up a notch.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Can you share with us maybe, like, one of your favorite, like, comeback tournament memories, like where somebody was really like giving you the business. Maybe you like bracket reset them or something like that, and how you were able to kind of overcome taking all those losses first and then eventually taking the set.
Yeah, there's man, there's
Not to put you on the spot, but you know.
No, you're fine. I mean, I'm sure there's countless ones between me and Bo in Tekken. There are so many sets where it was either down to the wire or I got the read on something he was doing, and that was really going to set the tone for the set. There's always a favorite saying of mine, which people know, which is "Don't take me to 2 sets." Like, don't take me to that many games, because my mental stack is always going. Like, it's always continuing. I'm not going to stay the same. Yeah, there's a lot of really crazy ones recently. I'm trying to think of a really good example recently.
Well, I know you've been playing a lot of like DNF Duel. And,
Yeah.
You know, I've watched some of your can opener sets and things like that. And, you know, it seems like there's for the most part you're definitely crushing the competition, but there are certain players that I've seen that really give you a hard time. Specifically, like a Swiftmaster
Blue Linky.
opponent. Yeah.
Linky's surprisingly, like, a lot of people won't realize this. A lot of people know that Linky is kind of the guy I have to fight. That, you know, it's unfortunately a bad matchup. There's you know, that doesn't sell me from trying to fight it. It's rough, but something that a lot of people may not realize is, like, Linky's doesn't have the greatest mentality. Like, there are players that are at that level that are winning these events over and over again, winning thousands of dollars, and their mentality is like, it can be so bad sometimes. They can just like crush themselves because they entered in the tournament. God damn it, I went 0-2. I'm terrible. And it's like, I always tell people, like, that doesn't make you a good or bad player. You have to understand that. Like, it really depends on like 1,000 factors how you're gonna play out that set. And sometimes, man, you just guess wrong. And that's one of the best advice tips I've ever given new players. Like, sometimes you're going to sit there, everything's going to be mapped out, you're going to think about it, and you're going to guess wrong, and you're going to lose. And it sucks, but that's fighting games, baby. Like, nothing changes.
I love that. Sometimes you're just going to guess wrong. And that's okay.
Yep. It's okay.
It's just a part of the game, you know?
Sometimes round start, Nago's going to hit you with that DP, and your character's going to explode because you guessed wrong. And that's okay. Like, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Not wrong,
And
man.
the best thing you can do is never let something like that destroy your mentality. You can be down 2 games in grand finals. You're about to lose the whole thing. If you're strong enough mentally, I promise you can come back from anything. Yeah, there's. Whew.
I have you kind of touched on this. You brought up bad matchups. How would you ease the pain of going into a bad, knowing that you're going into a bad matchup?
Ooh.
Right. That's always a fun one to think about. And like the easy answer, which I think is not so much a cop out, but one of the best ways to answer it is, you know, you're gonna run your shit. Like, you're gonna do the best you can at the tools you have to do what your character does best. Now, a lot of the times, like, people think that there are, you know, it's a lot worse than they think it is. There's, like, you know, there's player matchups to consider. Like, I like using this normal. This person I'm fighting knows how to beat it. What am I supposed to do now? And that's really the stuff that allows you to break out of your shell. There's a lot of matchup knowledge in DNF, for example, that I had to fix for people because a lot of people thought my character was garbage. Like, they thought that he had... I mean, the infamous Brian F. one where he thought we had 9 ones, which I was like, absolutely not. We do not have fully unwinnable matchups. There's no way. I just think that people really, they do go into it with that mentality, right? Of like, oh, there's no way. And it's like, no, depending on your character strengths, man, like I said earlier, people can just guess wrong. It's perfect. Like, you can just hit them. Like, as long as a game has a strike and a throw option, and you've got maybe a little bit of a mix in there, like, you can kill anyone, man. It's not that difficult, you know. It'll seem that way, but sometimes it really comes down to, like, stay strong mentally, run your shit, and it will come back to you. Like, there are very few what are just straight considered unwinnable matchups. It's very few and far between.
I agree. I only asked because I did that once, and that was the last time I did that because it made it a lot worse.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to go into
knowing like, yeah, this is a 9-1, I'm the one. But you know what? That 1% can lead to the victory if you put your fucking heart into it, and like you said, guess right. You know, it's a guessing game.
Yep.
Yeah, it is still on your opponent to make that matchup what you think it is. Do not think that everyone's going to run that way.
Yeah. Now, in terms of, we talked about matchups and things like that, but in terms of like getting ready for a tournament or getting ready for a local or just getting ready to go in and play online, what are some of the things that you do to kind of either warm up or prepare for, you know, getting into that mindset, getting into that, your character ready for that tournament?
So this is kind of a tough one for me. It's kind of an unfortunate question to ask. I go in pretty cold. A lot of people don't know that. I'm actually better cold a lot of the times. The only exception is I do like to just run sets before, like when I enter can openers, for example. I'll just run a set, usually longer sets, 15 to 20 games against someone to iron out, make sure my combos are hitting and things like that. Because you can take yourself to training mode, but putting yourself in a match is obviously better. Find someone to play with, get yourself warmed up. But yeah, a lot of the time, unfortunately for me, like, and this is one of those things where it's like everyone's going to play different. I am better cold a lot of the time, and I figured that out about 10 years ago, to be honest.
Wow. That's interesting to hear. You literally just walk up into a tournament and, yep, we're going in. No,
I'm the same way.
Oh, man. Hey, Cole, what's up?
Hey, I just came in here to listen to Ladon talk. Is all.
Yeah, a lot of good information coming through.
Yeah, it's it's just coming down to that, talking about player styles and things like that. You're gonna have your own. You got to figure it out. Unfortunately, no one's as much advice as I could give you. You're never gonna be the player that mirrors me, right? Like, you're gonna be your own guy. Or girl, whichever. It really depends on what you want to do and how you want to advance as a player.
Yep.
But I can honestly say to this day that all of my best results have been cold. Just recently, I did not expect to do that well at Retro Game Con for Tekken. I was really focused on DNF. I didn't play it for months. I show up, I got second. It was just one of those things where it was like, well, I don't know, man. Like, having that mindset of, I know what my character does, I'm happy to do this, I'm just going to play it and see what happens. And then sometimes you're on that day, you're on 10, you're ready to go, everything's correct, you've got it. And that's the beauty of fighting games a lot of the time, is that there have been so many online tournaments, can openers, Tampa Never Sleeps, things like that I've entered where I'm like, I'm not feeling it today, man, but I told myself and I promised, like, I'll enter once a week. I got to enter one a week, no matter what happens, because this is my game. This is my shit. I want to do this. The 2 times that I honestly felt like I did not want to enter, I got second. Like, those are, it's so important to grind and not so much force yourself. If it's unfun, stop. Like, if you're not having fun, stop. But if you just want to, like, go, hey, I'll throw myself in this tournament, whatever, change your gamer tag. If you're not comfortable doing that, if you don't want to be represented, like, no one has to know who you are, right? Like, a lot of the time, you don't have to put yourself out there, but you're gonna need that experience if you do want to grow.
Yeah, I think you said something very important there. If you're not having fun, just stop, because I think everybody truly gets into these games to have fun. Like, at the sole center of why we play games, why we play fighting games, is to have fun, right? Some people do it for money, but if you are at the point where you're ripping your hair out, or your mental health is going down the freaking drain because you keep losing and you're not having fun in the game, then just stop, right? Nobody says you have to play this game. Nobody says you have to continue to compete. Just take a break, you know?
Yeah, I mean, as one of the best grappler players in DNF, I can tell you that there have been days I've logged on and I just have done terribly in certain matchups, and it'll be online, it'll be something, it'll be someone I've played at this point hundreds of sets with, and I'll just be doing bad, and I'll know, and I'll be like 10 games in, and I'll be like, hey, not feeling it, like not for me today. I'm not where I want to be mentally. I'm thinking about other stuff, or I'm questioning my decisions a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to do that, which honestly that's another thing that'll knock people down from where their growth is going, is really second guessing your decisions. And it comes back to that where it's like, what you're doing is fun, hone that, and your skill set will come later. It will happen. You will get better at what you like to do, but some days you're gonna get blown out, man, and it sucks, and it feels bad, right? Like, it feels really shitty when your buddy at the local who, I've beaten him every local, man, so I'm just gonna go there and I'll be in grand finals, and he just 3-0s your 2-0s your ass, right? Like that dude that you always beat. Guess what, buddy? He's on the same damn journey you are. He's on the same grind. He's doing the same shit. At the end of the day, your growth as a player also depends on the community's growth. Like, no matter what happens, people will get closer and closer to you. I've seen it happen with people I've literally trained to be better players, and there are shining examples of players who are going to decimate me in games that I just can't keep up with them anymore, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. That's you love to see the growth, but I think you're right. I think the community is such a big impact on a player's growth, because I know, like, when I first started coming around, Street Fighter V was like the big game, and I remember going to my first local. I think I was playing ranked. I'm like, all right, yeah, I know how to do this. I know how to do this, and I wasn't anything like serious in ranked, but I was like, I think I can hang. I think I could do myself. And I went to my first local and got absolutely demolished. I think I played like Rex and then freaking Foolish Mafia. I think that was my set, my first tournament. Those two I had to play, and I was like, man, I got absolutely bodied by these guys. You know what I mean? I got absolutely destroyed. But you know what? They were pretty fucking friendly, and it made me want to like continue coming around. And I'm glad I did. Right? I got my ass kicked by two of the best players in that game during that time, and but the community was the big thing that I was like, this is okay. This is people that enjoy doing what I like doing, and I hope I'll get better at it, and I did. So how important would you say is the members of the community welcoming in new players?
Man, it's so important. It really doesn't have a value. You know what I mean? It's just, oh man, it's so important to foster a community based on, just having people show up. I have been patient and sat with players and really tried to show them, like, I think, this that you're doing, maybe work on this a bit. This is what I'm seeing. And I try to come off so hard as somebody who is, I'm not trying to force you to learn to get better. I'm just trying to show you, like, this might be the path to set you on. This might be something that you might want to look at. And a lot of credit goes to the people, like, we've got Sun, who runs the events, you got you, who does the KI stuff, you got Kenyon, who does the events, Vinny letting us do microgame as always. Like, it's so important that we have something regular to go to, because time after time after time, you can slowly see people, or sometimes very quickly, get better because they're showing up, and they won't realize it. And this is the craziest thing that I see from the younger crowd, right? And anyone who's been here long enough, is that sometimes it feels like the growth is just so much faster. And with the way that games are going, like, there are so many killers out there that will just show up and be a part of your community. And it's like, man, this younger crowd is just so much better. Like
Mhm.
it's just gotten so insane now at how much of a community you have that are really good at this stuff and are willing to listen is obviously the most important part. Um, yeah, it's number one in my book. It's so important to have something regular with people playing to get. A really good example is Attack from All Sides, man. That Tekken scene when we first started, man,
Mhm.
we were some doo doo butter, man. We were we were bad at Tekken, and
Yeah.
by God, we were just trying to figure stuff out. And ZTS Tony wouldn't even enter the bracket because it was going to be a free win for him every time he wanted to see us fight, and then time after time after time, and years later, now you've got these killers in Tekken and other games that would show up. I saw you a few times. I saw other players stop by and be like, "Oh, do people play Dragon Ball here?" And it'd be like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
I play Dragon Ball." And Indra's comeuppance came through a lot of that as well. And it's just so important. It's so important to have something for your community, whether it's a meeting spot, a Discord, a way to get people to play. Small rivalries, always fun. Shit talk, always fun, man. It's so important to foster that and really to let people understand that like it's safe here. Like you can be you. That's fine. You can be you just like as long as you're not harming anyone or you're, trying to agitate people or be a dumbass, like
Yeah.
fine. You're perfectly fine. You can be you. We're not going to nitpick how you are. But one of the things I personally just don't like to see, and you'll hear this from me time after time, is like, don't beat yourself up. There's no point to it. You've got,
Yeah.
my brother, you're going to go home and you've got combos to grind. Like, you've got all this
Yeah.
stuff. You've got all these steps to take. I promise you it's not going to happen tomorrow. But it will happen eventually.
Yeah. You definitely can't beat yourself up on stuff. I mean, there's nights when I'm playing KI, and we have a pretty consistent group that plays almost every night, and there'll be nights where I'll do really, really well, and then other nights where I just get demolished, and it's the same players over and over again, and I'll get demolished or whatever, and go to the back of the line in the lobby, and it is what it is. But you kind of just take that time to kind of reflect and see what you could do differently, and think about what you got beat on and what you could do better, and you got to remember why you come back to the game, because it's fun and you love the game.
Yeah, it's it's so important. There is one thing I know where we might be. I'm not sure how our time looks, to be honest, but
You're good.
there is one thing that I want to talk about, which is one hidden factor that a lot of people don't consider in fighting games until you really start playing more and entering stuff. And I want to talk about momentum.
Mhm.
So, Rick, what do you think I'm bringing up when I talk momentum?
Are you talking about like when you're winning a set and you're feeling yourself and you're gonna pop off, and then for whatever reason it demolishes your opponent?
Yeah. So momentum's interesting, right? There's a lot of characters in games that are high momentum and get the ball rolling real quick or slowly. Some players are like that too. It's really important to consider that like you will play people who they'll go into the set and that dude is DPing every wake up and he just perfect me. Holy shit, this first game's over, right? Just before you can even blink, you're like, oh my god, I just lost the first game. What happened? It is massively important to, and not with outside factors, but as play gets higher, thinking ahead gets more intense. Like you're starting to think further and further ahead. And that is why stopping momentum is massively important, because your opponent's going to try to take a step, and if you're already ahead, it could be it is the smallest thing sometimes. I have seen people do this, and it will break their momentum, and it will hamstring them. It will be the biggest thing that's happened, and it could be the smallest thing in the world. It could be someone just like, oh, he backdashed and punished this button that only gets punished on a backdash. He knew that. people will get shaken to their core over stuff like that, and they won't even realize what's happening sometimes. Like, maybe they didn't lab it, maybe they didn't know that you could punish that. Maybe they didn't know that your character had that option. Really throwing out as much information as you can into a match is important, and that's why I always tell people, like, there is never a point to hide your tech against people that you're regularly playing with, because you need to see on the spot, and it's important for tournament later, how are they going to adjust and what is the adjustment they are going to make.
Yeah.
Because as you're playing sets, as you're playing against your buddy or someone in your community, you really need to start understanding, like, what makes my character frustrating, scary, annoying, like, what makes my character work and work mentally, because a lot of the times it's not the stuff you think it is. Sometimes it's just like, I hate that this character gets a guaranteed throw off this setup. Like, I don't know what to do. I got to tech the throw every time, right? Like, that could be the thing that really gets someone, like, under their skin.
Yeah.
And
Play the player.
Yeah, when you pick up on the habits and the playstyle choices, that is when the more advanced game starts. That is when, like, that becomes so important. I have run sets against people in tournament. I'm in losers. I get to grand finals. I find something. So I pull something out of my bag, and it's like, this is gonna change the whole set, and it goes my way, right? Like, I end up winning in grands or something. When you can find that something, whether you want to call it, like, people call it mentally guard breaking them, you know, people call it, like, just exhausting them, icing them. You know, I think icing is more so like you're doing something outside of the game that's slowing momentum. Don't be that guy. Like, don't stand on the, you know, on the character select screen for the max amount of time. Like, can we chill with that?
Yeah.
But, like, there is certain things that you can do to kind of be like, okay. And I always tell people, like, look, if you're down 2-0, you're having a hard time, go to character select, give yourself a second, try to figure out what's going wrong. Like, what is changing the set right now? Like, what is it? Is it an option you're choosing every time on wake up? Is it, you know, it could be the smallest thing, like, I need to do a little shimmy before I fireball because they're jumping me every time, and this way I can check if they're gonna jump. There's all these things you have to consider, but really the most important thing is just stay strong. You know, go back to your game plan. If you lose with your game plan, that's fine. What needs to be honed from that game plan? What do you need to go back to the drawing board with? It is so much. Losses always make you stronger than wins. Adaptation is always the key to players becoming better, and it's a very difficult skill to learn. It is not something you're going to learn immediately.
Man, those were two real powerful statements there, buddy. I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, losing is always going to be so much more powerful in your developmental journey here. I mean, because if you just win all the time, right? What are you really learning? Nothing, right? I mean, it's great to win, but learning or losing in your developmental journey, I mean, that's going to be huge. And adaptation, I love adaptation. I call it out all the time during these streams. You know, oh, I love the adaptation. Good adaptation there. Look at just to see the back and forth between the two players. You know, and if you're able to kind of adapt on the fly and adjust to what your opponent is doing, I mean, it's going to be huge, and that's what's going to get you the win at the outcome. You know.
Yeah, and nothing solves or gets you better at quick adaptation than the word nobody wants to hear, which is labbing. Like, you have to lab your options against characters sometimes. Now, when I talk labbing, and I want to talk about this and break this down into the 3 player categories. Now, I don't know about everyone else, but I usually break it down as you got beginner players, you got intermediate players, and then you have your higher top level players, right? A beginner player, when they go into the lab, is going to go, hey, I got a hit. That's it. They're going to go like, oh, cool, I can do this, and, like, I got a hit. Like, cool. When you step up to that intermediate level, Vinny, what do you think that intermediate player is going to think past, like, I got a hit? What do you think their next step is?
What can you do right after? Or,
yeah, so
can I, after this hit, you know, can I throw a fireball? Can I link it to a fireball?
Yeah, perfect. So I literally have it. I would send it over to you, Vinny, just to show you. I have it written right here. But I got a hit. Here's my combo. Is their next thought, right? Like, okay, I got the hit. Now I gotta like do something with it, right? And then when you start to breach into the higher top levels, it changes. The formula changes drastically, right? It is now not I got a hit. It is I have confirmed my hit, meaning they're not just throwing stuff out there. They're doing it in a sense of like, I whiff punished something, I saw it coming, I had a feeling this would hit, like I did my button, now here is my combo, and now the third step gets added on, which is what do I do after my combo lands? Like, what do I do? And this is where I think a lot of people get tripped up, and why when I explain to people, like, I think one of the most important things to learn is what do you do after you're hit? Because trust me, it's a fighting game. If you're just playing casuals, you're just playing in tournament, you're gonna want to know what happens after your combo. Like what happens after you get the hit. I have seen a lot of people like get the hit, land, like they're a newer player, but they're, you know, maybe they went 1-0 so far. They won their first round in bracket. They get to that situation where they're fighting someone who's around their level or a little higher. They get that hit, they get that combo, they send them full screen, they don't do anything, and they're like, oh my god, I hit the combo. And it's like, okay, now we have to discuss like what happens after. You can smother your opponents very easily with the right characters. Your combo hit could completely switch the tide of the game immediately. It's also important to consider like what is your opponent gonna feel about what happened to them. I notoriously very rarely go for the same knockdown. If my character can do a different knockdown style, a reset, something, I want that, because here's how your opponent's going to think, right? My opponent just knocked me down. He's going to do a safe jump or something where I can't do a reversal, or maybe he's going to bait my reversal. If he's going to do that, my best option is going to be to just either block it, hold it, or, you know, react to his next option, maybe do something defensive, a burst, a YRC, whatever game you're playing, could be a dead angle. That's what I feel like. Their stack now is set on this one Oki knockdown option. If you change anything about that, their options will immediately be scrambled. Like, there's no question. Not everyone is going to react the same way you do. That's why resets can be like, they can be gimmicks or they can be exceptionally powerful. Because if your reset is layered enough, or there is another layer there that's like, you know, a good example is I do a reset in DNF that is a safe jump that sets up an overhead. Like, I'm covering multiple options here, and your choice is your choice. I'm going to go with what I think is the right call here. And if you guess right, well, you know, oh well. You know, boo hiss, whatever. It's not a big deal. But the reality is that, like, now that player's thinking, oh my god, the next time he hits me, if he resets me, I got to do this because I called it out with this, so it's going to work. And then the next time he gets hit, dude gets knocked down and he's in an Oki situation, and he's immediately going through his head like, oh god, what were the four options I had? And it's like all of a sudden you've hit them again. Like, it's so powerful to consider that. So that is like what a lot of players know as the mental stack. And we need to really stress, like, mental stacking starts anywhere in the game, and it's anything that you do. It could be neutral, it could be hits, it could be knockdowns. Anywhere in the game, it's important to consider that, like, you're not locked into one option. Explore. Like, see what you can do.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that, like, just switching up, you know, maybe your knockdown situation, doing a different option there really kind of resets the opponent's mindset. Because I know, like, when I'm playing against somebody and I'm like, all right, yep, they're going to do this afterwards, and then they change just something the slightest, I'm like, I was expecting this, and then they did something different. You know what I mean? Just that slight hesitation, just that, yeah, I thought they were going to do that, but they didn't. And now I'm just kind of like, damn. You know, it really is, like, demoralizing sometimes. You're just like, damn, I thought that was going to happen. But that's where the adaptation comes in, right?
Yeah,
the back
and
and forth, the dance.
yeah, the dance, the samba, the chess match, whatever you want to call it, you should always, and that is it brings me to something that I talk to people a lot about. Like, I've had this question from a lot of people regarding, like, when do I, as a player, like, when should I be done? Like, when should I be, finished with a match, or like, when do I stop? You know what I mean? Like, when am I not learning anymore? So it's really easy to see that stuff and like play 50 sets against your friend and be like, yeah, I don't know, I'm not really picking anything up. But I think the most important thing to remember is, like, when you start being really habitual and autopilot about what you're doing, it's probably best to step away at that point. You can only play so many sets where you're gonna say, like, I should have done that, I'll do that time, and then next time you do it and it works and you're like, okay, cool, I did that. And you're eventually just like, you're gonna start feeling that, like, I've always called it staring in the mirror, where I'm playing a set and then eventually I'm like, I'm just playing this like I would play any other set. Like, I need to step away, I'm just doing stuff. Like, there's no conversation being had anymore. You've taken your opponent to the movies, you've taken them to dinner, like, you've had dessert, you're back and you're like, okay, like, we're done here. We gotta move on from this. That's about the time that you should call it quits with sets, or like how long you're playing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will just grind a game for like 12 hours a day, and it's like, but how much of that was learning is always really important. And I think that you'll definitely grow faster as a player if you can identify when you stopped learning.
Yeah. Yeah. How much of that set was value added, to your development, And if you get to a point where you're not learning anything, or you're just absolutely at a wall, then it's time to call it a night, or even just take a 5-minute break. Go get a drink, go hit the restroom, and come back, and maybe things change. But kind of going back to what you said, 20 minutes ago, if you stop having fun, or you're getting frustrated to a point where it's not fun, or you're getting mentally taxed, probably time to turn it off.
Yeah, it's really important to know your limitations, and this has probably been parroted by so many people, but it's very important to know when you've had enough. Like, when you're just not, take it from me, guys. I play 2 hours a day when I really want to grind a game, and then there are days where I'm just like, I'll take it off today. I don't really need to play. But some people will feel like they need that desperate need to play to get better, and it's like, it's not instantaneous, man. It's really about the knowledge that you can fit in at that moment, and if you overload yourself, you'll get burnt out and you'll just not want to play it anymore. It won't be fun. And I can't stress that more than, like, and this goes for all players, all levels of players need to listen to this. Like, the game that you're playing right now, that you're enjoying, or it's your fighting game right now, this is not going to be your best game. As long as you keep playing fighting games, the game that you're playing right now is not going to be your best game. You will find something that more closely fits your playstyle, or it could be a character change, it could be an update. Like, maybe someday, pray to the gods above, you guys get a new Killer Instinct. Like, that could be your game. Like, that could be the game in the future, right? That you really like, oh my god, this is so much better, I'm loving this. This is what I'm going to take seriously. And that journey is so important, and that's why it kills me when, like, I hear these newer players, older players be like, oh man, the new generation of fighting games is just not fun, man. I just don't enjoy it. And it's like, well, your game might be out there, it may not yet. It's perfectly okay to look at something and say, I don't enjoy this, so I'm not going to play it, and that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Vinny, how are we looking at time?
We're good. I mean, if you got more, we've gone 2 hours before, so if you got more, lay it out there, man.
I love this.
This is
such
this
great
is a
conversation.
learning experience for not just the community, but for whoever comes in to the chat and listens, to what Jeremy here has to say. Like Rick said, Jeremy's been around a long time. He's seen some shit. He's dealt with shit. if there's one man that knows what he's talking about, it's him.
Yep.
Said he's already pointed out
Yeah,
some of the flaws I had, man. I've had some of those situations, especially like the 9-1 matchup situation.
Yep.
You just go in, sit down, and you're like, I already fucking lost, and you don't even try. You didn't even try. And then you think about it, and you're like, no, what if I tried?
Now,
like I
Jeremy,
said, there's a 1 there for a reason.
Yeah, Jeremy, you mentioned something before we went live that I thought was a really good topic here to kind of talk about. Can you just touch upon, what we were talking about before?
Oh, so, man, I love to bring this up because I think I forgot to even mention it. So hey guys, you ever want to see me get real heated about your gameplay? Guess what? Never put down your controller before you see that KO. Man, you want to talk about an instant way to blow my fuse? The game's not over, guys, until you see the KO. And that's such a large portion of people that I see play games who they activated their super, man, it's over, he's gonna die from this, and that shit whiffs. And if you are sound of mind and you are ready for it, you're gonna win that match. And there are so many, dude, I can pull up countless matches I've had. Now, DNF is a little bit different. If you've got armor on Grappler, you actually don't die at 0 health. You live. You can't die during armor. So that's always a fun fact about that game. But I have come back from the worst situations in the worst matchups at no HP, no guard bar, I'm down and out, man. I've hit rock bottom, and I can still pull that win off. You know why? Because that KO never fucking showed. That KO never came up. It never told me the game was over. My opponent can still get mentally guard breaking. It can still happen. But man, if you ever want to see, I have lost it on people, man, when they have thrown down their controller or they've given up, and that combo misses. And they lost. We call it, the Woshige effect, because a lot of people, if you're well versed, there was an Evo top 8 in Guilty Gear Exarch Rep 2, where a top Milia and a top Zato player were playing, and it was 1-1, except when the Milia won their 1, they were not aware that there was still another round to be played. So they got up, popped off early, was not aware the game was over. Ogawa, one of the best Zatos in the world in multiple Guilty Gears, just immediately kills him, because that's what you do to a player that doesn't pay attention. And that just goes down as one of the best moments in history to remind people, the game is not over until you are looking, everyone's aware that you've won. It just, take a second. When you get that win, verify that it's over. Make sure the game is over. That's all I ask, is that you gotta face that final super like a man. You know what I mean? You gotta be ready to take it as it is and take it on the chin if you need to. It's okay. But there are so many times, man, pixel comebacks. How many people watch Sajam's Will It Kill? You're not dead, man. I promise, you've got to see it happen.
Yeah, and that's where some of the best comebacks come from, is when the super whiffs, and they got a sliver of life, and it just the comeback factor. I love it. I play a character in Killer Instinct called TJ Combo, and he's a boxer. And one
I love
of his
TJ.
mechanics
He's actually my favorite KI character. No,
dude,
facts.
So awesome. So one of his his abilities is if he dies on second round with full instinct meter, he gets to come back with 15% life and half of that instinct meter. And his instinct meter, he gets powered up special moves and things like that. And when I'm playing the guys, and I get that instinct comeback factor or whatever, I always say, I didn't hear no bell. And he gets up and you just sit there and you just try to beat ass as hard as you can to try and come back. And it ain't over till it's over, right? So, man, yeah, I think you said it perfectly there. It ain't over till it's over. You gotta face that super like a man. If you get hit by it and you lose, okay, but there is a chance. There is a chance that it may whiff, and there's also a chance that you may have that come back.
There are
and that's
just
going to be the sickest moment.
Yeah, there are just freaky situations in fighting games too. Like you can fall out of a combo that no one's seen someone fall out of before. There are so many situations that I can think of where people really thought like it was over, man, and it wasn't. And yeah, you like I said, if you ever see me at a tournament or a local, like there's nothing that's gonna provoke my response more than you giving up before the game's over, because it's not. And that's how you grow as a player. Is how do I make this impossible comeback? Well, it's your time to grow now.
Yep. And you could potentially have one of the hypest moments of the tournament.
Exactly.
Seek the hype. That's the way I say it. Seek the hype. Awesome. Vinny, what else you got? Any other questions for Jeremy here?
Not really. He nailed them all. He even nailed the pop-off questions. I knew he'd nail them all.
Jeremy, what else you got to share? I know we talked a lot.
That's right,
Yeah,
Capconian. There's a chance, man. There's always a chance.
The game is never over. It's not even over when you lose, man. You might have a loser's bracket run to do, and that player, you might come into them again, and that little bit of knowledge you got from your set might save you the whole set, and you might go on and take grands. It all sounds so fairy tale, but it's a joke to say it would never happen. It absolutely can.
Anything's possible.
And it does sometimes.
Anything.
You know, it's been recorded in some tournaments. You know, it happens.
Dude, we got losers bracket Bo, man. That shit kills me. Bo is one of the strongest players I've ever seen, but only if he gets sent to the fucking losers bracket. It's so bizarre. I think Homie just needs to wake up more, but like, yeah, some people like they're gonna have their own play styles.
When the pressure's on, that's when people, really come to terms with how they're going to do.
Yeah, and it's mentally taxing, especially if you just get, like, you're in winners and you just get blown out to losers, right? And you're just sitting there and you're like, man, how did I get fucked up so bad? Like, I shouldn't have lost that hard. And it's like, you know what? Get that mentality back. Like, let's go and let's focus.
Shake it off. Let's get it. Exactly.
I guess I have kind of touched base on it a little bit. So let's say, for example, you enter, I don't know, a major, right? And you're like an intermediate level player. You know, you're going to get seated somewhere in the middle. You look at that bracket, and you fucking got to play, I don't know, fucking IDOM. How do you tone yourself down? Like, what should you do? Because I tell you what, if I looked at a bracket and I was paired with IDOM, I'd probably be freaking the fuck out too.
You know what you're gonna do?
What am I gonna do?
You're gonna play like you play against every other player. Is exactly what. Do not second guess yourself. Upsets exist. Maybe you're that dude that day. Maybe you're the guy who's gonna bait the burst. Maybe you're the guy who just decided, like, I'm gonna try this match. And it's so important to tell people, like, the majors you enter, the online tournaments you enter, all the events you're gonna enter, like, is that gonna be the one? Maybe it is. Maybe that's the one where, like, you go down as the dude who blew up a top Asian competitor, right? Like a top Japanese player or something.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened? Like, it just happened. In the States, in Tekken, we had just a Lucky Chloe player that just completely blew up Pakistan. Like, that was... And this dude was not, like, you know, he was a good player, but was he, like, high level where people considered him high-seeded? Absolutely not. This stuff happens a lot more than people give it credit for. That if you're passionate enough and you really do put your heart into the game and you're going to bring your play style to the table, there is a high chance that nobody's ever seen you play other than your local scene.
Mm-hmm.
And it is so important to consider that, because I can't tell you how many times, like, I mean, the joke is, like, who is Ladon, right? Like, that is the joke. Because I would show up to brackets, people wouldn't know who the hell I am. Other than our scene, maybe some Buffalo guys, maybe some Rochester guys, you know, occasional people I met over time. And I would just start, like, going through the bracket, and you'd hear these dudes in the background being like, I lost this fucking dude named Landon or something. Like, I don't know what happened. He just, like... you got lucky, like whatever. And I'd always laugh because it's like, you don't understand like who you're actually going to play at a major is some of the best players in the world, and some are known and some are unknown, and that's just the reality of it.
I love seeing an unknown player like make their way up through bracket, get into like winners finals. You know what I mean? And everybody's like, "Who the hell is this guy? He's an online warrior? No way!"
I mean,
love seeing that.
It recently happened with Umi Show, right? Because Umi Show won Evo, and it's like nobody knew who the fuck Umi Show was, and all of a sudden, like, there's this Happy Chaos that's like, oh, this is why Happy Chaos is good. Like this, if you do this stuff correctly, like you can be this insane player. And I wish it could say like, oh, it's pretty common for a top player. Like, sure, year round you'll probably see like names win tournaments. But nowadays, man, it's an open field. Like you can just get shot. Like, there are some absolute killers out there.
Yeah.
There are so many players, man, who I've seen, and this kind of goes through my like boomer view, but there are so many players I've seen young who come up through the FGC, and I'll watch like a tournament, and there they are in top 8 or they're in grand finals, and I'm like, dude, I wiped the floor with that kid like 2-3 years ago. Like, what the hell? And it's crazy because you see it throughout so much time in this community. These players that they can just become killers, man, and it can happen overnight. It's so crazy. I mean, perfect example is like in our scene, Indra went from struggling against me in Dragon Ball to easily one of the best competitors in that game, and stuff like that is just so inspiring for other players. You can be that guy tomorrow if you put the time in. I promise you.
Now, didn't he take Upstate Upper in Dragon Ball?
Oh yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Didn't he win that one? Yeah.
There was a time where me, Tyler Wong from Buffalo, and Indra were kind of like the competing guys in Dragon Ball, and it would, it would basically be between us who was going to win what event or whatever. And the last time I seriously played the game before, COVID hit and all that stuff, I won the final. Like, we had a Syracuse Sucker Punch. It was Dragon Ball. Tyler came from Buffalo to play me and Indra, and I ended up going through winners and winning the whole thing. And I think that once I kind of decided like I wasn't really, I was going to focus more on something else, there is so easy for these players to get better through what they learned in your experiences playing you as a player. And that is one of my biggest things is like, I will gladly give you advice. I will, play with you if I can. And I fully expect, like, you don't have to impress me, right? Like, not every player I play has to impress me. But if you're willing to learn, I can at least promise you that, like, any player can do it, man. Any player can be that guy who shows up and just wins a major. And everyone's like, where the fuck is this guy from? Like, what? Like, this happens.
Capconian says in chat, the story of Crying Brian is one of my faves.
Oh my god, Crying Brian.
What is Crying Brian?
So, Crying Brian, I actually don't remember his player name right now, but he was, yeah, he got beat pretty bad in like a Marvel versus Capcom 3 match. And this is back when the FGC was really harsh on people. Like, we had a lot of just like, I would say at this point, pretty problematic stuff going on. Where people were kind of like, hey, you got fucked, man. Like, oh man, you got blown up. And this dude just like starts bawling because he lost so bad and he got popped off on, and it's just like he's kind of getting treated like, you're a scrub, you're not good, all this stuff. And God, I think it was like, we're talking like 4-5 years down the line, dude comes out and just like wrecks people in that game. And just like, I mean, Capconian can correct me here, but I think he ended up winning like either a major or a regional or something pretty big. And yeah, it was, everyone was like, holy shit, it's Crying Brian. And it's like, yeah, it's really important to consider that, like, it doesn't matter like who it is, man. Like people can come up through and be one of the best players. It's completely possible.
Yeah. Love it. Love
Like,
the history.
Oh, I still to this day hate when people say like, oh yeah, I got so and so in my bracket, it's pretty free, and it's like absolutely not. It's never going to be.
It ain't ever free until it's over.
Yep.
Ain't nothing free.
Nothing.
I think so. We covered a lot tonight. I guess if you had to say like top 3 tips or top 3 things, key points you want everybody to take away kind of from this chat and the discussion here tonight. What would you say here for either new players, veteran players, intermediate players, just anybody that's in there? Top 3 takeaways here from our discussion.
Yeah. So number 1, by far, game is not over until it's over. Please do not give up. Have you hit the KO? Have you lost 2-0? Okay, all right, pack it up. Like you finally lost. The game's not over until the KO sign comes up, guys. Like please remember that. That is one of the biggest tips I give people is that anything that happens, whether you're at 0 pixel or at 1, is always going to be important. My second tip is don't burn yourself out. One of the most important things that we touched on tonight and that I will always come back to and tell people is like you gotta love what you're doing. You gotta enjoy the game, the community, the atmosphere. Hey man, there are weeks where like I'm not feeling too mentally sound and I want to maybe stay home from the local. That's fine. That's okay. But someone's probably going to check on me. Someone's probably going to ask like, hey, you good? Like, yeah. It's like, yeah. I just, I wasn't feeling it tonight. Do me a favor. I've seen it before, but like, thankfully not too much in this community. Like, don't give people shit over that. There's no reason to. Some people do just need a break and that's perfectly fine. You never want a mass burnout in a community. Me personally, I could be entering multiple tournaments a week in DNF and winning like, $200, $300 a week because of, where I am at with the game. But I can't do that because I know mentally I'll burn out.
Yeah.
And so I put a limit on myself that was 1 tournament a week. You can play sets. Like I'll play sets throughout the week. That's fine. I'll play if I feel like playing. But I only enter 1 tournament a week because I know that I can't do the tournament scramble. It's too much for me. Finding your mentality as a player is extremely important and never forget that. And that's what I mean by, don't burn yourself out, love what you're doing, or just don't do it.
Yeah.
For my third takeaway, yeah, I'm just going to go back to everyone has their strengths. Pay attention to how you're playing as a player and find out what is fun, but also what jives with you as a player. Never sell yourself on the first character you pick. Never sell yourself on what you think you want to play. Like, play someone that feels right. Play a character that feels right. Play a game that feels right. Some people, they'll say they were born in the wrong era because like maybe the game that they're playing isn't that. Yeah, go try stuff, man. Go play other games. Like I've touched so many games in my time that, I can tell you what my favorite game is. I can tell you what my least favorite game is, but I'm happy to have at least put the time in to play all those games and find that I ended up being this huge anime guy who really just like I enjoy anime games, and they married a MMO and an anime game into one fighting game for me, and that was my game, and that's what I was going to take seriously. And with rollback coming out and all this stuff, like the sky's the limit. And if I can just, I'll come back to it one more time on that too. It's just this may not be your game yet, and it's okay. Like it took me It took me 12 plus years of competing to find out exactly what I wanted to play.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean this conversation has been excellent tonight, and Jeremy, I want to thank you for coming on and kind of sharing your insight and your wisdom here. And I think a lot of people will get a lot of good takeaways out of this. And I mean, like you said, you've been around a long time. You've played a lot of different games. You've got a lot of different experience, and you've competed at all types of levels. And as they say, Rome wasn't built in a day. And I think the important piece that you drove home here is the self-reflection. Understanding where you're at as a player on your journey, and eventually where you're at, in terms of your skill. It'll all come, and if you're enjoying the trip, enjoying the journey along the way, that's the most important part. It's going to be good, and you'll learn. But as soon as you start not having fun, or as soon as you start getting frustrated and whatnot, that's when you got to take a step back and take a look at yourself and look at yourself in the mirror, and really think about what you want to do, in terms of this game, or maybe it's the game that's not for you, and that's okay, as you said. So, a lot of good stuff tonight, a lot of good information. Vinny, do you have any other thoughts, any other questions you want to ask Jeremy?
No, yeah, like I said, pretty much nailed everything. Like I kind of figured he would.
Cool. Awesome. Well, Jeremy, appreciate you coming on tonight. This was extremely helpful. I know I learned a lot, just sitting here picking your brain and kind of talking through it. I guess, you know what? I'll put this out there. Is there anything you want to plug? Anything you want to do, like Twitter or anything like that? Where can people find you? I know we're in Attack from All Sides and the Gundalf Kingdom here, but if people have questions and they want to ask, where can they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at Layden3S. It's same as my Twitch handle. I'm always, you can DM me on Discord. You can talk to me at my local. Like, there's a lot of places to find me or chat with me. And outside of working, a day job, I'm always open to talking fighting games with people. I have a lot of people who have just asked me for, like, hey, can you watch this match for me and tell me what I'm doing wrong? I absolutely will do that. I know that a lot of people don't consider that an option with the people they play with, but yeah, absolutely. I promise I have the experience to at least give you a leg up on what you do. As long as I know the game, I cannot promise anything for games I do not play, unfortunately. But yeah, and one of the things that I do want to get through to people as well is hey guys, it's a lot easier to do this with friends. Don't support your community, come out, see us. I promise we're good people. And the one thing I always stress is I don't like people being uncomfortable. So if you just want to come and talk to me and pick my brain about stuff, you're free to do that, man. Don't think that I'm so focused on the local that I need to win or anything like that. I 100% want to talk to people. And I have now reached that age where, I'm the hermit in the community who's been sitting on this hill for such a long time. And it's I need people to listen to me and I can help.
Yeah. The wise old sage.
Yeah, as it would be.
Awesome. Well, good stuff. Good stuff. Again, Jeremy, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. And a lot of good topics, covered here, and hopefully some of the viewers learned some things here. And yeah, again, just really appreciate it. Vinny, anything else you want to add before we sign off here?
Definitely, if you have questions, definitely ask. You local boys, you know where to find him. You know where to find all of us. We post it every week. And just play fighting games. Enjoy fighting games. Have fun with fighting games. Like he said, not every game's for everybody. Maybe you don't like Killer Instinct. No, maybe you're a Mortal Kombat player. Maybe you're an Undernight player. Maybe you're a Marvel player. You don't know until you try. You shouldn't snoot your nose at a game without trying it first. Because that might,
Yep.
like Jeremy said, that might actually be your game. And you've been writing it off this whole time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Vinny, before we go, let's talk about some upcoming events. What we got?
There's quite a few things coming. Tomorrow, speaking of locals, Strive at the shop. Leave start time 7 p.m. Coming up, let's see. I haven't posted it yet, but the last thing on the current calendar, Sunday is Street Fighter V exhibitions. I was asked to give it a go one more time. We have quite a few matches to run, so Street Fighter V on Sunday. And then I have a roundtable next Thursday. We have a tournament coming up. The monthly's coming up. I believe the date.
Ooh, what's going to be at the monthly, Vinny?
I wonder why you're
What's
making
gonna
me
be at the monthly?
I wonder what. So then, thanks for following Capconian. So the 19th, we have
What's gonna be there?
the November monthly. The headliner game, Guilty Gear Strive. We're gonna do Xrd on the side as a free to enter tournament. Hope to see everybody back after they took rollback away from us again. Hopefully they bring it back soon. But Killer Instinct will be there as well.
Yeah.
And Rick,
Free tournament for Killer Instinct.
that will also be free. The only paid tournament is Strive. The typical, I believe it's 10 to enter, 5 venue. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. Rick is bringing the prizes again. This time, I've already confirmed it's not a steak dinner this time.
Oh,
I got prizes for the top 3. It's gonna be great. They're practical prizes.
Then that Sunday will be Guilty Gear Strive exhibitions. And then there's the future's coming. We have the Christmas party. We have the Killer Instinct and Strive Online Christmas tournaments. I know Kangas is putting together a couple things. I know they're gonna finally try 3 lives. I believe it's on a Sunday instead of a Friday though. I think
Okay.
Tekken. Not this coming Sunday, but the next Sunday they're going to give 3 lives a trial run on a Sunday. I believe 5 p.m. start time is what I read. But you can always contact him, talk to him, ask him. He is open to talking to people. And yeah, thank you, Jeremy. Thank you for coming on. This was I've learned some stuff that I had never really thought about. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Jeremy came up to me at the last Tech from Outside Local and was like, "Hey, I would like to have a conversation on the round table about mentality." And I was like, "Abso-fucking-lutely." Oh.
Yeah, and can you post this in chat as well? Any questions that may be coming through, or the conversation doesn't have to stop here tonight. You can always post in the Mental Dojo channel in the Discord. I know there's always a lot of videos posted in there about mentality and improving and things like that. So any questions you may have or want to run past folks, that is the spot to do it in the Mental Dojo. So
Very well lit.
cool.
Oh, can I?
You're good.
Sorry, can I jump in real quick? I forgot one thing.
You're good. Go ahead.
That I wanted
Yes.
to mention. So if anyone's interested, DNF Duel is actually going on sale starting. What is it, tomorrow? I believe.
I think it started today.
Yeah, okay, it started today. It's on sale on Steam. I know a lot of people are kind of hesitant. We do have a December update coming, and with some other announcement which we think is DLC. We don't really know. It might be your game. It's good to try. I have a dying community, so I have to push it when I can.
Well, it is in
And
the
no better
calendar.
time to pick it up than when it's on sale. Come on now.
Yeah.
I'll give you a sneak peek. I want to try DNF exhibitions again in a couple weeks.
Ooh, okay.
A Sunday night. Same time as usual, 8 p.m. Couple weeks. I'll post the updated calendar after Sunday. That way Street Fighter is done and the new calendar can flow. So, but I do want to bring DNF back. I think I've told everyone the game wasn't for me, but I do enjoy watching it and I do enjoy commentating it. The game is mad fun to watch, for me.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Sick,
it's,
crazy shit happens. There's explosions. Everything I love watching happens in that game. Crazy cinematics. There's a girl with a dragon. Grapplers stepping on people. It's fucking great.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what though? And Jeremy, I told you this at the Evo viewing party. I enjoy watching your grappler. So
Yeah, I do.
when
Yeah,
you're on
as
screen,
always.
it's always. I love seeing the conversions. I love seeing everything. So always a fun game to watch. So hopefully, when Vinny brings it back in a couple weeks, you'll be able to join.
Yes, as the champion of the Yipes Clips channel, I will continue to hold that flag as high as I can.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, Vinny, that's all I got.
That's all I got.
Jeremy, that's all you got.
Yeah, that's it, man.
All right.
All right, Vinny, take us home.
Alrighty, everybody. The great words of the great Kidyan. Good night, and good luck.
Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.
Night, everybody.